And love is greater than light. Love is understanding, redemptive, goodwill for all men, so that you love everybody because God loves them. You refuse to do anything that will defeat an individual because you have agape in your soul.
He's called the apostle of love. He always did that, taught us that. And that was the main thing. Out of one blood, God made all men.
As a young man, Calvin Woods worked closely with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He fondly remembers Dr. King as a man of faith who dedicated his life to the movement.
He had faith, he had courage. You can have all of that and not have the other component he had was love. He had that love for everybody, and he taught it and told you if you couldn't do that, get out of the movement, get back, because we can't be like those who discriminating against us, that like they hate us. We got to be different. He taught that. In my perspective, he was a man of holiness. He taught that which was right.
Dr. King's most well-known writings, including the famous letter from the Birmingham jail, continue to resonate deeply.
The most important thing that he did to me personally while he was in Birmingham was the letter that he wrote from the Birmingham jail in response to the letter he received from a group of white clergymen telling him that it was not the time for equality. It was not the time for equal rights. It was not the time for black people to vote en masse, and it was not the time for black people to participate fully in the society.
Dr. King spent time in several Alabama jail cells. Jefferson County Sheriff Mark Pedway showed us one that historians rarely write about.
This is the old jail, and the floor that the jail was housed on. Now it's a museum. Because of Dr. King, we keep a replica of the jail right here so others can come and see what history took place right here in Jefferson County. You hear so much about the letter from Birmingham jail, but the last time he was arrested, he was right here in the Jefferson County jail.
King's mission of peace often intersected with law enforcement in ways that some describe as complex.
In Selma, the sheriff, I think his name was Jim Clark, had several interactions with Martin King. And then in 1967 here in Jefferson County, Sheriff Mel Bailey had the responsibility of taking him into custody after the Supreme Court had affirmed the decision in Walker versus City of Birmingham. So Martin King and Alabama sheriffs were not strangers to each other. But it is coincidental that they both had a similar mission. And the mission was that of peace.
Yet for many, those interactions reflected the tension between law enforcement and communities of color during that era.
We have these mixed feelings about authority. We have these mixed feelings about police of any kind. We certainly want to help and be a part of the system of order, of law, and of respect for each other. But it's very difficult when the system doesn't provide you with the opportunity to experience those things.
Despite the challenges, Dr. King never wavered in his commitment to nonviolence.
Martin King was a peacemaker because in his mission, he always taught us that nonviolence is not just a strategy, but it must be a way of life. And so he embedded in all of us the notion that however important our mission is, nonviolence must be a part of it.
When Dr. King was assassinated, many wondered if the movement would survive without him.
When we heard he was dead, we didn't know whether we would be able to carry on. And it was a while before we got ourselves together. Our leader was dead, but he had put so much in us, and God had put so much in us, until we couldn't stop. We had to press right on.
And press on they did. And so did Dr. King's dream. As Alabama sheriffs gather and reflect on his legacy, there's a reminder that his lessons are not just history. They are a roadmap for the present and the future.
Dr. King was known to be a drum major for civil rights. We want to make sure that nobody's rights are violated. We want to make sure that as we carry out our duties and do our job, that we do it respectfully, that we do it tactfully, that we make sure that nobody's rights have been set aside or done away with. So Dr. King, we thank you for teaching us. We thank you for coming here, being among us. We have learned a lot from you and from the letters that you've written and from the words that you have spoken. They have inspired us to do a great job. They have inspired us to step up to make sure that we're not afraid of government or anyone that stands in those roles. So we are thankful for you, and we're thankful for God for sending a leader such as Dr. King.